My guest today is Australian film and television star Louis Mandylor, who returns to the big screen reprising his role as Nick Portokalos in the third installment of the smash hit comedy My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, hitting theaters nationwide on September 8th, 2023. Now, the film will open just over 20 years after My Big Fat Greek Wedding established itself as the top grossing romantic comedy of all time. Now, Louis Mandylor's film career continues to shine and grow, including his work opposite of Scott Adkins in The Debt Collector films a few years ago, which led to work on Rambo, Last Blood, Memory, opposite of Liam Neeson, and The Battle for SAIPAN, in which Louis did all of his own stunt work. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome one of the hardest working and busiest men in Hollywood, actor, producer, and director, Louis Mandylor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Beautiful introduction, Ward. Thanks for having me here.
Well, you're very, very welcome. And let me just kind of kick this off with the brand new movie coming out. How surprised are you to see that My Big Fat Greek Wedding grew into a threequel, I guess is what we'll call it?
Yeah, I think we're all pretty surprised. This business is rough enough as it is, and we all know that it's a volatile world, as we say. So to get a trequel, a threequel, whatever you want to call it, as you put it, it's a blessing, especially with this one. Um, it's a comedy. It's not one of those action things which puts it on a different level to me. It's rare, really, right? I don't know. Is it? I think
It
so, but
is. It is
yeah.
rare. You know, it was funny because I mean, it's funny that you brought that up because my wife and I, we love binge watching shows and movies, and we've all noticed that every film out, besides all of the superhero movies that keep coming out over and over again, and we see tons of action. I love action films. I love spy thrillers, but it's the romantic comedies that we don't see like we used to, let's say 10, 15 years ago, and we need more of those.
No, I agree. I agree. The business has changed. I got here. I got into the biz in '89. Oh, actually, I got to LA in '89, but soon after that. So I remember when that change happened. The movies of the week, the romantic comedies, and just those movies in general. So it's getting back to the question. I guess it's a blessing, and to do them over such a long period of time. Another note is that to do a sequel 15 or 20 years later, and then the third one another 15 years later. I mean, that's pretty unheard of. Which brings us to the heart of I think the question. Father Gus, Michael Constantine, was not only a dear friend, he was a leader and a talent and a beautiful soul. And I do believe it was an homage to him. And that made it special. The script itself and the screenplay is fantastic. It's built around a lot of heartstrings, and I think it's going to be beautiful. So I'm excited. Yeah, no, I'm blessed to be part of the third one,
Well, I was going
obviously.
to ask you about Michael. I mean, him being the patriarch, so to speak, of the whole cast. I mean, what was the presence like on set without him being there?
Um, it was amazing. I mean, in a sense, he was there. I mean, we all knew why we were there, and it was a big part of because of him. Obviously, Nia is the captain, and she steered the ship, and it was a great experience. But man, yeah, we all felt it. I know I did, and I know a few other people did. It was a very special, poignant script, especially in my life personally, which I won't go into right now. But as you get older, life changes and you start having to deal with some realities. And I think this movie touches on heart and dealing on some harsh realities. And I think that's one of the best comedies that I like to endure is something that's not only funny, has a little shtick, but then, it hits you a little heartstring and it gets you. So it has that complete genre of emotions. And I'm excited. And Michael obviously had a lot to do with that.
Well,
Yeah.
what is your fondest memory of Michael on set?
There's a lot, but I remember in the second one where it was more or less the parents' story. Him and Lainey had the main story, and Michael had a lot to do, a lot. And I remember watching him. I mean, besides the years of fun and laughs, he's just a great guy. We had so many laughs. I remember watching him, seeing him dance and jump around and just really push that second one. And he was the life of the party. He's just a great man, man. So, there's a lot of moments, but I remember him on Fat 2 just having an absolute ball, dancing literally in between shots
You know,
and
it
being
is. Yeah, you know,
Being
I
really funny.
I think the magic of this movie um, is the multiple cast of characters, and everybody has their favorites. I mean, I hear from so many people saying, "Oh, Nick's my favorite," and I had people when some of my colleagues found out that I was interviewing you. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I just love him.
That's okay.
I want to see. You know, I can't wait to see the third installment of the film." But I think that's why this this series of films have been so successful because there's multiple characters. Um, the synergy is absolutely incredible in the film, but everybody always has their favorite lines. It's like when the first one came out. You know, there's these little one-liners that we all walk around, and it's almost like it pops in your head, and you have to quote it out loud if something
Yeah,
happens in your life.
yeah,
You know, how many of us have ever been in the kitchen and somebody makes a bundt cake, and we look down and we think of this movie?
for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. The characters, excuse me, are actually what make it, and it's funny. I think it even made the trailer for the second one. But the aunt, Andrea Martin's character, always a scene stealer. She is. She's just magnificent. But if you remember the trailer, she says, "I will be your favorite." I mean, I just laugh when she introduces herself. By the way, I'm going to be the. I'm. You know, it's so. She actually says that,
Well,
which is.
and she's right because
She's
everybody loves her too, but every character is lovable, and you don't see that in a whole lot of films. And you brought up the point that what it's was it you said 15 years between the first and the second one,
I do believe it was that. Yeah,
and then
I
it's been
think
what 10 years for the third one.
you know, I think it's approximately those numbers. Yeah, but it's a long time in between them. More so with the first and second than the second and third. But still, you know, it's been a long time.
Well,
Yeah.
are you surprised? Well, let's go back to the first one because you know it became a smash hit. I mean, I guess the whole cast was probably, well, not only grateful but shocked.
Yeah, we knew we had a good movie. You know, you have an understanding of when you're on set. You feel like, hey, this is going to be enjoyable. It's a nice film, but who knew? But I do recall the timing. It was pretty interesting. It's worth sharing the story real quick. Rita Wilson actually shared this with me. It's something like this. I'm sure it's changed in my head over the years. But when Nia made that with Playtime with Tom Hanks, Gary Getzman, and Rita Wilson, when they produced it, they put it in the can. I think they had a deal with Lionsgate. There was a lot of money that went into PR. But it was after the horrible 9/11 year. I think it was soon after that. And I do recall like Hearts War coming out with Bruce Willis and all these war films. And I was thinking, where is our little film, man? It just disappeared. I think it was 2 years where I think a studio said they weren't going to gamble on it ultimately. This is a true story. And then time passed. Someone spoke with Playtone. I forget the gentleman's name. Then they came out with a little plan, and that's when they released it on the outskirts of those cities. And everyone was yearning for some love, some family, and some laughs. Like you were just saying, there was no romantic comedy. So I think the timing was fantastic. And then obviously it snowballed with that unbelievable marketing plan that they had. And we had a lightning in the bottle. It's pretty damn rare, but it happened because I think the movie substantiated what the public really needed and really wanted. And I think it's always needed a good comedy. Come on, man. There's always time for a good romantic comedy. And especially then. So then the legend began, and here we are. Like, what is it? I mean, 20 years later,
Yeah, I
25?
think it was just a tick over 20 years. I know the first one grossed 386 million, which
Okay.
is great back in the day. But ladies and gentlemen, here's something that you may not know. This is actually classified as an indie film,
Mhm.
which makes it that much more special because
Yeah.
you know, Nia had a vision and she accomplished it too.
She sure did. And there's a wonderful story again. Rita Wilson shared this with me, and I love sharing it because I share it sometimes when I'm having friends over because it's unreal, just life. And I believe Nia was doing a one woman show in Hollywood, and Rita happened to be in town with Tom. And I think Tom had some business, and she opened up the LA or the Hollywood Reporter apparently and said, "Oh, what's this?" Literally, I remember she did that. She said a Greek. a one-woman show. So being Greek, Rita went to the show, and after the show, she said, "Nia, do you have a script?" And Nia tells the story real cool, where Rita says, "Do you have a script?" And before she could say script, she's like, "Zip." Which
Perfect
was,
Hollywood.
yeah, man. So that's actually how it happened. So you ask yourself, if Nia didn't do the show and risk and put herself out there with a wonderful talent, if she didn't, excuse me, what would have happened? If Rita didn't decide to open the paper, what would have happened? But it did happen, and here we are. So yeah,
Well, just think, no elevator pitch needed.
yeah.
Well, and now for the third one, y'all actually filmed this one in Greece, correct?
Yes, part Athens and part on the island of Corfu.
What was that like?
It was wonderful, but it's interesting. I share this with my friends. Yeah, this is why there's no rhyme or reason. And if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. All those little sayings that you hear over the years. Because I just did two back-to-back World War II movies in Thailand. Bombs, bullets, explosions, running through jungles, mosquitoes. It was just horrible as far as circumstances and the level of work energy you needed. So going to Greece, I thought, time to relax. Just an actor, and I'm going to do a romantic comedy on the Greek island. How hard can that be?
That almost felt like a vacation to you, didn't it?
Actually, my point is on the contrary. It was really difficult, man. It was an incredible experience. Yeah, I mean, it amazed all of us. It was just so hot, and making a movie, I learned again, there's so many moving parts, and there's a lot of pressure, and making a motion picture film, it's a lot of work. And it was an amazing experience, but it was still a lot of work. Yeah, I
Well,
was
I
exhausted.
mean, well, the moment you get on set, I mean, can you literally instantly flip the switch and you're Nick?
I can. I've over the years, I don't mind. I mean, I'm in it, but I don't mind having conversations. Obviously, when you have a sense and an awareness of the set and the timing getting close, you disassociate. But ultimately, yeah, I can adjust pretty quick. I like having a good time. Yeah, no problem.
Well, well, so you're famously known as Nick. Now, when you're seen in public, do fans call you Nick out in public?
I was telling this story in Greece just last week. I had a scout. It's funny because as an actor, you always, if you have that opportunity in this business, which is rare, but if you get a chance, you want that. I like De Niro. Are you talking to me? And Schwarzenegger says, "I'll be back." Well, I have a Nick one, and I get stopped everywhere, but it's nothing cool. It's I have tria archidia. Do you know what that means, Ward? Am I allowed to say
No.
that? Well, the first one, when I say to him, "Tell everyone to go inside." He says, "How do I say it?" Big John Corbett. And I say to him, "Echo triarchivia." He says, "Echo triarchivia." You remember now?
I remember now. Yes.
How to say what it means? But anyway, that's my cliched line, and I have families and kids calling it out to me on the street, and I'm like, "Oh man, couldn't it be something cool?" But it is. We get a good laugh out of it.
Well, yeah, but see that is the absolute beauty of
It's fantastic.
film and cinema. It's kind of like when I talk to recording artists. There are songs that stick with us for life because maybe something happened and we hear the song. But with movies, especially when we watch something like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, it's almost we're drawn in and we feel that we're a part of that family, that we want to be a part of that family. And we
Yeah,
think of all of the multiple scenes that we can memorize, the lines, and we get with our friends and we laugh or we watch the film again for the 10th time.
yeah.
And that's why we need more film, more cinema. And in this case, we need more romantic comedies because I think people are literally worn out from, well, the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, and they're going in a strange direction. I was a Marvel. I was a comic book artist. I almost got an apprenticeship with them back then. Well, in other words, I'm a fanatic with the Marvel comics, and I don't know where they're going with it. But anyways, that's not my business. But yeah, yeah. But I'm with you. Having you said something interesting. These types of film are so relative, and especially when you have a family that's built around what I think is the genius of this film is it's built around the fact that even though it's a Greek family, I think all families around the world, no matter what nationality, no matter what religion, we all have those characters and those situational moments in our life from with the parents and don't do, just everything. And I'll tell you a quick story. I haven't told this in 20 years, but after the first one, I was doing a show. I just finished a show called Martial Law in Los Angeles with Sammo Hung. It was a #1 show as far as all the action in the martial arts, Chinese kung fu, etc. And I love my dim sum. I'll make it quick. I was eating downtown, and Fat Wedding had came out. And I used to get recognized a lot back then for the martial law show. Had a big fan base. And I remember eating my dim sum and this big family and people are doing this and looking. And I'm like, oh, martial law. And I walked over and said, hello. And they said, I love the show. And they said, no, not martial law, Fat Wedding. And they could hardly speak the language. Yeah. And that happened a lot where I realized, wow, all cultures are, receiving the message. So yeah, that's another reason why it was really just the awareness on that response was pretty crazy. It opened my eyes to the wonderful damage it did around the world, which is we're all ultimately the same, right? I mean,
Well,
you know,
and see what what I love about the film is, we see so many films today. There could be Asian films, black films, Hispanic, Latino. The list goes on, but then you have this one that stands out based on a Greek family, and everybody has their own personality. And again, this is the magic of this film. There are so many personalities. The moment someone starts talking, the audience wants to laugh. They want to embrace. They love that character.
yeah,
It's an overload of love and family. And that is really like you said, it's the biggest thing that we need right now.
yeah.
And you guys keep delivering that.
Yeah, it's great. I remember on the second one, again, sometimes as an actor, it's pretty unresponsive sometimes, and it's a difficult road. Every actor that's committed his life to it understands that, and every now and then you get a little taste of what makes it worth it. And on the second one, this happened a lot, but the most profound was on the second one, where one gentleman lifted up his shirt, and God bless him, he changed my life, in a way, this guy, but I changed his. And that's what's great about when you make a film that has impact to young kids and children around the world. He wasn't in a good place, he told me, in a bad place. And when he saw that movie, and when I quoted Tania on the bed something, he had it tattooed on his rib, and he showed me my quote in the movie, and we hugged, and it was just an amazing moment. And I'm thinking, the impact this movie has had, it's pretty cool, as they all do in their own way. But the validity and the payment on that moment was fantastic. It made me realize, wow, we can help and change people because we can get into their houses and their TVs through what we do, and it makes sense after all these years.
Well, yeah, and I'm one that I love action films. I'm a guy. I love that stuff. But I think the most memorable films are those that reach the heart. Uh, it spurs our emotion to ride along with the characters. If it's a romantic comedy, and to me, I think if all of us are going to be quoting movie lines, besides quoting things from either a Dirty Harry movie or from maybe The Godfather, but it's the rom-coms that sometimes they have that line that stays with us forever. And my gosh, I mean, how many rom-coms did Tom Hanks do that
Right.
we still watch and still remember to this day? This is why rom-coms need to be making this major cinema push again, because we need more. And you
We do.
guys are leading the way.
Yeah, we do. On that, you just reminded me of a Michael Constantine story. It's worth sharing. I don't know how, but you just got me back to giving you another great moment with Michael. What I'm about to share with you in the world did happen, and you wonder the chances of something like this. So we wrapped My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the first one. Hadn't seen anyone in a year or two. It was 2 years, actually 2+ years by the time they released it, and by the time I got to LA, probably even longer. So after all that time, me and I forget, I was with one friend, and we went to see the movie. We found a theater. We got there. It was full, completely booked. I mean, I didn't, but I felt like saying, "Hey, I'm in it. Let me in." But I didn't because I'm not like that unless I really need to be. But I said, "All right, whatever. It's full." And we tried like 3 or 4. I remember weekends in a row. We couldn't get in, which I loved. point of the story is this particular night I said, well, I'm not going home. I want to see a film. What else is playing? And they said, Monsoon's Wedding. I don't know if you remember that movie. It was an Indian movie about a wedding, similar to ours, came out at the same time. We obviously got all the play on Fat Wedding, but it was a wonderful film. So I said, okay, here's some money. And we went next door, me and my friend, to see it. When I went in, it was just starting. So I sat down, it was dark. The theater was empty. Empty except two or three people, literally 3 seats in front of me. We watched the whole movie. Beautiful film. The movie ends, the lights come on, and who turns around? It was Michael Constantine. I said, Michael? I said, you couldn't get in? He said, no, there was no seats. But that's a true story. That actually happened. So we went and had a beautiful coffee after that. But can you imagine?
That
That's a
is
true
one of the
story.
greatest stories, because
It
who would
really
ever
happened.
know? And the funny thing is I've always wondered. So, as an actor, do you literally go into the theater to watch your own films? Because to me, it's almost like after maybe a private screening and walking the red carpet, you just go on to the next project. Do you like to watch your own films or the films that you appear in
You
a
know,
theater setting?
it's a good question. To be honest, it's the latter, meaning usually it's a screening and you're done with it, right? But if by chance it's got a good little theatrical run or not, just a theatrical run, it's always nice to see it with a neutral audience because at all these premieres and these screenings, they're all your peeps. So it's nice to sneak in with the hat, just in case. Not that I'm anyone that anyone should recognize that affluently, but getting in there with the hat, yeah, I like it because you get to judge a different crowd, and it's fun. Yeah, but
Do
very
you like to watch the audience's reaction?
for sure. Yeah, yeah, and just to see how it plays with a neutral audience. I've realized over the years too, every audience is different. I think people, when they want to watch a movie, I tell everyone when I send links and screeners, don't watch it until you're really in the mood to watch a film, or else they'll rip it apart. Meaning the audience energy is just so different every screening. We screened Fat Wedding, for example, a lot of different places. Every audience was different. Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny
yeah,
because just recently I interviewed a series of film directors who were nominated for an Oscar for short films, a few at Cannes, and then Tribeca, and they were every single the ones for Tribeca was the funniest because they were so nervous because a lot of this is the first time that ever had a film appear at an Oscar qualifying festival, and every single one of them were literally so nervous to walk into the theater to sit
yeah,
there with the rest of the audience, and some of them told me, I think I'm just going to look at the floor.
yeah. I don't sit when if I'm directing because I do a little directing. I'm not sure if you know that
Oh
over the
yeah.
years. Yeah, when I direct, there's no chance I'm sitting. Tell everyone to sit, and I'll pace up the back. I'll even pop in and out. Yeah, it's nerve wracking when you're at the helm and you're like, oh my god, it's an actor. You do your job.
Oh, okay. See, now you're giving us a secret because being as an actor, you've done the job, you know what the film is like.
Yep,
But then as a director, that's your baby.
that's your baby, and you're responsible at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, I did a little bit of research and found out that you yourself have been extremely busy. And I counted, I think maybe what, 12 films in post production. Can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, of course. 12? I can't remember 12, but
There
there's quite
could
a
be
few.
more.
um, the main ones that come to mind, besides obviously My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, a couple of years ago, my dear friend and compadre, Brandon Schlegel, he's a writer director. We've made a few films together. He called me up to Thailand to make Battle of Saipan. I'm not sure if you've seen that one. It's a great little World War II film. And yeah, we literally kicked ass, and I got a chance to explore my action, as you mentioned earlier. And the wonderful Damon Hillen at Hillen Entertainment noticed this and asked me if I wanted to direct his next film. And I said, of course. So Brandon wrote it. I created the story with Brandon. It's like this little click going on here that I really, really enjoy. I love working with these guys. So we made basically a trilogy, in a sense, of World War II movies. And I directed 2 of them, and it was an incredible experience. So one is Saipan's been released, I think, but now we have 3 days in Malay, I believe September release, Paramount. Operation Blood Hunt. I can't say too much about that one. It's pretty damn cool, but yet to be uh, information coming soon on its release date, etc. And there's a couple more, yeah, but I just can't remember. It's like, what's your favorite song? Tell me what else I got going on, Ward.
Well, I had to go on IMDb. That's our place to check everybody out. And I'm looking at your film list, and I'm like, and all I see is post production, post production, post production. I'm like, I mean, like literally, and for a lot of the viewing public, and you could probably give us some little secrets here because a lot of people don't know this. And I think Big Fat Greek Wedding 1 was really something that many people didn't know. It was filmed 2 years prior to its release.
So I
So
was right when I said it sat on the shelf for 2 years, right? See? True
yeah,
story, man.
so when you're let's say for you, if you're directing a film, you have no idea when it's going to be released, do you? I mean, if it's, is it versus theater release versus streaming release?
Sometimes it's preset, it's pre-bought, and sometimes it's not. Delivery is where you have an out, meaning you have a deadline for delivery. Once the film is delivered, the companies that own the picture obviously decide what route it will take. And sometimes it's pretty quick, and sometimes it's not. For example, like I said, Fat Wedding, as good as it was, no one wanted to touch it for the first 2 years because there was no explosions and A-list stars. And boy, was that a mistake. Your graphs can only get you so far, peeps. Take that from me. It's true. Only so far. I say that from budgets to everything. It's boots on the ground. You got to get out there and work. But nonetheless, yeah.
Yeah, I think when I look back at the first one, who would you say would be the most famous person on set? Joey Fatone at that time, but then
Isn't that
besides
interesting?
John Corbett.
Isn't that interesting? That's what I mean. I remember them saying there's no huge stars and there's no explosions. I swear, I remember that feedback. I'm like, wow, how wrong were you guys again? I think Johnny Corbett would have been the biggest name in that, to be honest. I mean, John's pretty well known, Sex in the City, all the shows. He has a large body of work. And Joey Fatone at that point, yeah, there you go.
So Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks are producers from the very beginning.
Absolutely. I think without Tom and Rita, none of this would have been possible, according to my knowledge.
And see, Tom knows he knows extremely well that you do a film and then you're like, it may not do nothing. I mean, and he will say that when it came to Forrest Gump, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, I heard it took them 10 years to get that finally done. That's what I heard. And who knew? But wow, there you go. That's why, it's all, at the end of the day, that's why I said graphs and budgets. This business, it is a business. It's show business, no doubt about it. But at some point, all these wonderful films that we've experienced, I think the filmmakers and the production companies took risks. I mean, Forrest Gump, what a friggin' risk. But these two legends, Tom and Zemeckis, said, man, we love it. We want to make it for the people. And I think that's at the end of the day what this business should really be. But look, I've got an independent company, Ward, with my partner, Mark Klebanoff. We fight every week. We're having conversations on what are we going to make next? Well, we want to make this, but oh no, we have to make this because that guy did, it's all these little, like I said,
Well,
graphs.
do you necessarily look at what the trends are in film, and do you jump on the trend, or do you try to buck the trend?
Well, in our particular case, we're a smaller company. I mean, if I was Paramount or involved in Paramount, I'd be taking big chances. Like you said, I'd be doing the latter. But with our company, we have to check the boxes because we're still responsible and we can't take too many losses on these motion pictures. So there's certain things you check and you're going to get a return on. But it's when you risk big, you get the big rewards, as they did with Fat Wedding and Forrest Gump, etc. So, that's where we're leaning to go in the next couple of years. For sure, we talked about it last week. It's time to start taking a few risks and doing some passion projects,
Well,
you know?
I saw a short interview with Matt Damon, and he really gave clarity as to when a film is released in the theater. And back in the day when DVDs were huge, if you didn't hit your mark at the theater, you knew you could make it up in DVD sales. But that's kind of gone away. And when things go straight to streaming, that back end of that extra DVD sales is no longer there. I mean, what has that idea done for all filmmakers?
I think it's changed dramatically. Obviously, before the blockbuster demise, let's say that era to now, it's changed dramatically. I mean, turnaround for filmmakers and investors like us is difficult. Sales has changed, like you said, dramatically. But there are, funny enough, other avenues opening. As it's funny, one closes, others open. I mean, the streaming availability is huge, and Tubi, etc. The new Netflix, I'm calling them. There's a lot of yeah, they're going great, man. They're blowing up. A lot of other ones too, but this whole world has opened up. So there is a secondary platform, but it's not the same. Yeah, things have changed. Yeah,
Yeah, because
it's a
it's the
harder
whole
one.
financial side that it's tough.
Yeah, it's a harder ROI for filmmakers. Yeah, for sure. I would say that, especially right now, the markets, but we need the content at the same time. So I think we're in a good place.
Well, that's one of the things that I've noticed is that the viewing public, and I've said this to directors and other actors, the viewing public is the beast that has to continually be fed.
Yeah,
And streaming has become the feeding ground, and but funding is still not easy to get.
yeah, never will be. I remember I recall I love Orson Welles. I watched nearly everything about that guy, and when he was a little old, actually a lot older, in his last legs, they interviewed him, and he said, "Any advice for filmmakers?" And I'm watching this, thinking, "Here we go. What's the wonderful Orson going to share with us all?" And he said something to the lines of, "I wish I didn't spend so much time, so much of my life, trying to raise funds to make movies. I should have smelt the roses a little more." Quote unquote. And I was like, "Wow, bro! Oh my God, yeah." Live a little, because this film business will do that to you.
I
Yeah,
hear
it'll
you.
lead you out because yeah,
Yeah,
I get it.
television's the same way,
Yeah,
and funding is hard to get. Advertising's not always there.
yeah.
Everybody has their own different idea. But I kind of dug back a little bit and realized that you were once a professional soccer player, and you got into boxing. How did you translate that into acting?
Oh man, it's a great story. I'll try and make it quick. Yeah, I played soccer in Australia. I played a little in Greece. I played at the top levels there. I was a pro, and I actually turned pro at 15 and a half with Melbourne, Hungary. And Mickey Lynn, God bless you, saw my talent and turned me into a pro. After that, it was a dream, but I got sidetracked because I had this passion for fighting and martial arts. So I was training religiously side by side with both of them and competing both side by side. Um, Dad didn't like it, said, "You're out." So I went to live with Mom. He didn't like the boxing, wanted me to soccer play. Anyways, my brother became an actor. He booked a movie with Teddy Atlas and Willem Dafoe called Triumph of the Spirit, an unbelievably well-made film about Auschwitz. Not the greatest, not the funnest of movie, but as far as storytelling, it's a must-see. My brother scored this big movie. He broke into Hollywood, and with Teddy Atlas being his new friend back then, I was turning pro as a fighter. So I said, "I'm coming to visit LA." I went to LA. I sat in Costas's acting classes, and I was training with the boxing every day. And truly, this is how my life changed. I remember I had 4 or 5 fights for these guys from the Forum, Jerry Buss's guys. John Beirudi was his name. I still remember his name. Nonetheless, I was fighting for these guys. They said, "Okay, Sunday, actually, you're going to fight for a contract. You have to meet us at the jail downtown. You're fighting a guy called the Fixer. He's a Mexican fighter. He's had 66 plus fights, and he's a beast. If you can get through him, we're signing you." I said, "Oh my God." So it was a Saturday night. My friend Chris Stanley from my brother's acting class picks me up. We go to a party in Malibu. He says, "You're nervous. Come for some water so you don't think about the fight too much." I said, "Good idea." It was Mindy Marin, a big casting, up and coming casting lady back then, Mindy Marin. And she was casting a film called Necessary Roughness. So I go to this party. I meet her. She says, "Are you an actor?" I lie at the time because I wasn't. I said, "Of course I am." She said, "Well, there's a role for you. Come in Monday morning." So getting to the point, Sunday, I went 8 rounds with the Fixer, and it was an absolute war. I was very badly hurt all over. But Monday I showed up and I booked the job. I went home and I got 2 simultaneous phone calls on the phone, and the home phone, because that's how long ago it was. And one said, "You've got a 10 fight deal, you got the contract." And the next one, it was Mindy Marin, and she said, "You've booked Necessary Roughness as the Aussie rugger, if you've seen the movie, that doesn't want to wear pads." And I said, "Wow, what does that mean?" And she ended up telling me what it meant. And I said, "Mindy, I got to be honest with you." I said, "I'm a boxer." I said, "I'm not an actor." And the day before the audition, someone kicked the hell out of me, and I came in there, and I don't really know what I did. And she said, I swear to God, she says to me, "Well, have him beat you up every morning before you come to set, and you'll be just fine." That's how it ended. And that's how my life changed, Ward, for real. That's when I quit the fight game and started really. Then I studied. Then I joined my brother's class, paid the money, and I learned the craft after filming Necessary Roughness. So that's actually how my life changed: the soccer to the boxing to the getting hit in a different way in this show business world. Yeah,
Lewis,
body.
I love that story. I love the fact when people take a chance. Yeah, you weren't an actor, but if you just say that you are, look what happened when you said that you were. Look where you are now. Is that the craziest thing ever?
It reminds me. I love quotes, Ward. I don't remember much, to be honest, these days, but I remember anything that I think is fantastic. And Jim Morrison once said, the difference between a singer and someone who can sing and someone who can't is confidence. He said, I remember I read his book, No One Gets Out of Here Alive, until he said, "Man, I can do this." He couldn't sing, but he says, "My voice never changed. I just had the confidence." And it's true. So it's a big part of it. Obviously, we have innate talent with vocal cords, but the point is, yes, you got to risk, you got to believe. And truth be told, when I was waiting in the room, I blasted through that story. There's so many funny moments, but one of them was, I'm recently off the boat from Australia, so I'm looking around the casting room, and I'm seeing all these familiar faces, stars of TV shows and movies, and I'm like, God, what am I doing here? Am I kidding myself? So it still creeped in there because I was thinking about getting up and going home. And as I was about to get up and kind of pull the plug, because it got to me, man, it's pressure. If you haven't been on audition, people, it's a lot of pressure walking in that room with the producers and they're all staring at you. It's rough as guts, man, as we say in Australia, rough as guts. But as I was deciding to leave, Mindy opened the door. I swear to you, man, just life sometimes. I still think about it. She said, "Lewis, you're up." And I turned around and said, "Oh, let's go. Now it's fight time." Now I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. But yeah, it was nerve wracking, as most network auditions are for actors. They're horrible in a sense. Yeah.
When I hear people say, "Well, I can't do that," or "That's not me," I'm like, no. You need to kind of go back and realize that if you step out, God will equip you if you will just say yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes just go for it. If you
Yep.
succeed, great. If you fail, you learned a lesson, get up and go
Yep.
do it again.
Yeah. Absolutely right. And especially in this business, it's a lot of get up and do it again. So, reflection of as life is as well. It's going to be a lot of get up and get
Well,
at it.
I
Yeah.
understand that you created a book of all of the storyboard drawings of your films that you direct. Is this something that will ever be offered to the public?
How did you know that, Ward? I don't think I've
Eh,
told you
My
that. No.
job is research.
Well, yes, I have a collection from when I first started directing my boards, and I have my folders on, all stacked at home. And I am planning on doing something. I think sometime towards the end of the year, I'm trying to create this online program where I can help young filmmakers, tell them the grassroots of how to make independent films, from, like I said, budgets to storyboarding and etc. But I love my boards. I obsess over them. I make my movie the old school. I make it before I get to set. I've got my ins and outs, my conceals, my reveals. I've got my illustrations. I've got my lenses. I've got everything. So these two World War II movies that I made, I did them in 10 days, mind you. So when
What you
film,
did, so each one you filmed in 10 days.
the first one was 10 days. The second one was 12 days because we had werewolves.
I
Yeah,
am
I didn't
amazed
have
that films don't
to
take
before.
6 months to do anymore.
Well, 10 days is absolutely unheard of, and I will not do it again. But I did it, because of the boards is the point, because I was so prepared. There was absolutely no lag or no discussions in between setups. But I'm pretty proud of that we did a World War II movie in 10 days, and it looks damn good too.
Well,
So,
you
generally
were
it's three.
in well, you were in Rambo Last Stand, wasn't that film done in 21 days?
I only had a couple of days on it. I don't know because I was. They filmed part of it here in Sofia, Bulgaria, and I happened to be here. So the casting lady, who's a friend of mine, said, "Hey, there's a role open with Sly," and I said, "I'm in." You know, I don't even think they paid me on it. I just went there and shot and went home. I swear, I don't even remember doing anything. I just went and left because I just wanted to work with him. But yeah, 21 days. I'm not sure, but you can do things in but 10 days. I mean, yeah, and
Yeah.
it rained 2 of those days, by the way. And then there's, it's yeah. But nonetheless, I'm real excited about those films. And again, the boarding is my saving grace, and it's wonderful for me because I have now the ability to bring part of my passion, which is illustration, into my own business affairs now. So the directing is becoming a bigger part of my life than the acting now. Funny enough, and I'm really happy about it because. Yeah, I enjoy helming and creating and boarding and
So
working with
you
my light.
actually illustrate your own storyboards.
I do everything. Yeah, I don't outsource. I do absolutely everything. Yeah, and that's about 3 weeks in a room, 6 hours a day prepping after I've seen locations. Yeah,
Well, I think we can call you a mega director if the director's actually doing his own storyboards.
I'll take that compliment. I don't know how many can and do, but I'm enjoying doing it. It helps me.
Yeah, it's more like, well, Coppola, do you write your own storyboards? Scorsese, do you write your own storyboards?
Too funny. I did share with you that Jordan Martyr. I did a movie for him. If you haven't seen it, people, it's a beautiful film. My brother stars in it for me with Jordan and Bill Sage. It's called The Blackout. The post is horrid, the company that took it, and I'll say it. Just for some reason in sales, I'm in the sales business. They put posters on it, and there's no rhyme or reason, but it's called The Blackout. Fantastic film. So when they hired me, they didn't know much about me, Jordan and a few other producers, and I'm a little unorthodox. I just am. I'm a street boy from Melbourne, Australia. And when I do my art and I'm passionate, I'm a little out there, but I'm obsessive. So they were having all these production meetings and I kept saying, waste of time, don't want to go, call me when you're done. And I kept hanging up the phone. This went on for a week. We had a 2.5 week pre-production and I would only go if I felt like, anyways, they all got nervous and they knocked on my door. I had this little bungalow room, yeah. And after 4, 5, 6 days, they said, Lewis, we're coming in to check on you. You haven't come to any meetings. We just want to know what's going on in here. And I remember I had a ciggy and I'm like, yeah, come on in, have a look. You're worried, right, guys? Do you want to see your movie right now? And they said, what's up? And I had my movie, all my boards pasted around the whole. And they walked around 3 times because they were in lower rows and they watched the whole movie. And then he looked at me, shook my hand. He says, we're never bothering you again. See you on set. Yeah. So that was a great story. I tell that one because, yeah, I drew the whole movie. There it is. What have I been doing for a week? That's what I've been doing. What have you been doing?
All right. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just had a thought for you. Do you realize that that alone is a short film or a movie?
What is that? What I just said?
Yeah, because have you seen The Offer?
The one I'm in?
No, no. Yeah, the movie The Offer. Yeah, well, yeah, the one. Yeah, that
The TV
it's all.
series?
Yeah, the making
Seen
of
it.
Godfather.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
seen it.
I love it.
Did you
I
like Mickey Cohen?
I loved the whole movie. It was one of the greatest works of cinematic art I've ever seen because the story. You're. I'm like, uh, I want to watch it again because for me, watching the backstory of an iconic film, there's so much story there. But here you are in a room creating all these storyboards. That's a film.
I like it.
That
I
is
like
that is a film of maybe it's a director that's so eccentric. Who knows? Maybe he's got a little bit of Stanley Kubrick in him, and he closes up like this is my vision, but then it's got to get made, and then like you said, these guys walk in and they're like, "Oh, good lord."
Interesting. What if he's boarding in like LA, but everything he boards, it could be like some crazy, scary movie, and everything he boards is coming to life in a different part of town. You just gave me that idea. It's actually,
Oh, I
and then
love
he
that.
realizes it. Did we just create a screenplay, Ward? Did we
Yes.
just
Could
create
you
a
imagine
story
doing the
live TV?
storyboards? It's almost like it's almost like a murder mystery where you're writing it ahead before it actually happens, but then when you do it, it happens, and then all of a sudden everybody's freaking out. That's a movie.
And he realized, and what about if he erases it? Oh, I don't like that, but some dude's already been shot. What would happen, huh? Would he come
And
back to life?
it's almost like changing, well, it's like changing the future, but if it already happened, it's like going back in a time machine and then it's erased and corrected.
Yeah, let me tell you, we're onto something here. We have copyright. Anyone who listens to this, we have official
Yes,
copyright.
yes, we have it. We have it on tape, so nobody can steal this.
It's not bad, actually, Ward. It's not bad at all, man.
No, just some fine tuning and tweaking. But when you told me that story, I'm like, and then I thought about the offer, and I'm like, that's a movie. That is the
Right.
basis of a movie. So, ladies and gentlemen, get ready because there's going to be a new blockbuster coming soon to theaters, directed by Louis Mandylor.
I hope so. Yeah. I was going to say
Well,
that's one of my oils. It's my little setup here in Europe. I don't have much here, but I bought a little easel, so I've been snapping away. Yeah, I'm not really
well,
good with it. I'm just practicing.
yeah, it's amazing how many actors and recording artists that I talk to, and it's amazing how many pick up the paintbrush.
Yeah,
And
and the guitar.
yeah, and and in all your locations, my gosh, I mean, I've seen I mean, photography that,
Yeah,
and I love the fact that nobody's a professional, so you get their eye, you get their emotion, I guess, through that type of art. And for
yeah.
you though, do you have a dream role that you would like to have?
Um, at this point, I think I've done a lot of ultra violence. I've done a lot of comedy. I think just uniquely, just character driven roles. They're always real entertaining. I did a couple more this year that I really enjoyed. Yeah, if the material's good, it's always appealing. Yeah, but I love the directing now. I'm focusing on that a lot this year. But obviously, a good role comes along. It's always a challenge and a great experience. Yeah, open to that for sure.
Well, just one last question. How much for an actor that when you've stepped foot into the director's chair and you've directed one or two films and then you take an acting role, um, do you look at things differently now?
Yeah, when I started making films, which was quite a while ago, yeah, you do. You do more so when you're helming. Just the way the sets run, just the way everyone treats the actors, things you wouldn't do that they're doing. Uh, in my case, that's a lot. So, I think directing the last 5, 6 years has come back into my life, and it's made me a little more. I have a shorter, let's say, a short fuse on set when things go wrong now. Because when you're helming, you have a responsibility to look after people. Even if it's an independent film, I do. On any film I ever make, everyone's looked after. And some films you get on set and it's just a little upside down, and that's the things you see. Whereas an actor, maybe you'd miss them, you just into your own thing. But yeah, the horizon broadens and you start saying, man, what's up with that? And then it becomes a little difficult actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I guess you put a little in your pocket. So when you direct a film, you're like, okay, I don't want to be that guy. Or you pick up something very positive from another director. You're like, oh, I like the way he did that. Or I like the way he handled that situation. You're like, I'm going to remember that.
Sure, you learn. You learn from people that are more experienced and better than you, and a couple of guys that I love and I've learned a lot from. Jesse V. Johnson, a dear friend, and he's taught me a lot. Very humble guy, and he very smart man, and he's just he runs the set just in such a great way. William Kaufman, another guy who's been really good to me, who is really really calm on set, which I am not. I'm the opposite. I'm a little, I don't know. Yeah, I'm the other way. But yeah, you do learn. David Arnspa I learned a lot from David Arnspa. I'm not sure if you recall, David. We did The Game of Their Lives or The Golden Goal with Gerard Butler in Brazil. It was an older film. Miracle Match, I think, was the title that released in the States. But yeah, I've worked with a lot of directors, and yeah, you got to learn. You got to take it all in, take the best, and then create your own, I guess, your own style, if you can call it that.
Yeah, and Lewis, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I know that you are so extremely busy, and I know that the whole crew for My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 is ramping up to do the major press push. Uh, but you got another smash hit on your hands.
Let's hope so, Ward. God bless you, man. Thank you again so much for having me on the show. It was wonderful to get to know you and talk to you. And let's see if the movie gets the love it deserves. We hope so. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm expecting you to give the greatest love to My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. You know you're a fan of the first one, you're a fan of the second one, and you are going to be a fan of the third one. And so get to the theaters. Look, it's not just Tom Cruise bringing the theater back to life. These guys have Louis Mandylor, the whole crew, the whole cast of My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 going to light up the theaters again, this time with a romantic comedy that will pull at your heartstrings. So get to the theater, pre-buy your tickets if you have to. It's coming to the theaters September 8th. Fill up every seat because you're going to love it. You're going to fall in love with it. You're going to laugh. Who knows? You may even cry. Don't know
Oh, yeah.
about that yet, but who knows? But nothing wrong with that. And again, Louis, again, thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you so much, Ward. It was a pleasure. Bless you all, and talk soon, mate. And back to you on that screenplay. I'll be sending you the new synopsis.
Do that, and I will be ready for it. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching the Ward Bond Show. And hey, I'll see you next time.